Dejan wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crawled through the old maintenance tunnel beneath Section 7 of the colony. The air was hot and thick, making it hard to breathe. His flashlight cut through the darkness, showing pipes covered in rust and dust that nobody had touched in years. He was looking for a water leak. That was his job now. Fix things, keep the colony running, do whatever the Ven overlords told him to do. It had been this way for 23 years, 23 long years since the Ren Empire came and took control of their small mining colony on asteroid KR 7719. The humans who lived here called it New Bizon, but the VN just called it mining. Station 447. Dejan was only 5 years old when the VN arrived. He barely remembered the time before, the time when they could talk to Earth, the time when supply ships came every 6 months, the time when they were free. Now, there were 847 humans living on this rock in space, and they all worked for the VN. The VN were tall, reptilian creatures with scales that shimmered green and gold. They walked on 2 legs and had 4 arms. Their eyes were cold and empty, like they looked at humans the way humans might look at insects. The Ven said humans were a livestock species, barely smart enough to follow orders, good for labor, but nothing else. Dejan hated them, but he kept his mouth shut. Everyone did. That was how you survived. His flashlight flickered across something strange, a metal panel that did not look like the others. It was cleaner, newer, and it had a seal on it, an Earth Defense Forces seal. Dejan's heart started beating faster. He moved closer and brushed away the dust. There were words stamped into the metal: emergency, Cache 7B, authorized personnel only. Dejan looked around. Even though he knew he was alone, the Ven did not come down to the old tunnels. They made humans do all the dirty work. His hands shook as he pulled out his tools. It took him 20 minutes to break the seal and open the panel. Inside was a small room, barely big enough for 2 people to stand in. There were boxes stacked against the walls, medical supplies, water purification tablets, emergency rations, and in the corner, a metal case with a lock. Dejan pulled the case out and sat down with it. The lock was old but still strong. He tried his tools, but nothing worked. Then he noticed something, a handprint scanner next to the lock. It was dead, no power after all these years, but underneath it, scratched into the metal, were numbers. A manual override code. He punched in the numbers. The lock clicked open. Inside the case were data chips, portable player, and a handwritten note on real paper. Paper was rare these days. Nobody wasted it. Dejan picked up the note carefully. The handwriting was messy but clear. To whoever finds this, my name is Captain Kungman. If you are reading this, then I am probably dead. But you need to know the truth. Earth did not abandon us. They think we are dead. Make them remember. Make them come back. Humanity never leaves its own behind. Never. Dejan stared at the note. Captain Kaiwung. That name meant something. He searched his memory, and then it hit him. Kaiwung Men was his grandfather, his mother's father, the old man who died when Dejan was 7 years old, the old man who always told stories about Earth and promised they would go home someday. Dot with shaking hands. Dejan loaded the first data chip into the player. The screen flickered to life, and his grandfather's face appeared. He looked younger, stronger. He was wearing his Earth Defense Forces uniform. This is Captain Kemen, Earth Defense Forces. Recording on day 412 of the Ven. Occupation, his grandfather said. His voice was tired but steady. I am making these recordings in secret. If the Ven find them, they will kill me, but someone needs to know what really happened here. Dejan watched the recordings one after another. His grandfather explained everything. How the Ven attacked without warning. How they cut off all communications with Earth. How they sent a fake message to Earth Command saying the colony was destroyed by an asteroid impact. How Earth sent a scout ship to check, but the Ven destroyed it and made it look like an accident. Earth thinks we are all dead, Kim said in the last recording. His face was thinner now, sick, but we are alive, 893 of us. We need Earth to know. We need them to remember us. If you find this, you have to try. You have to send a message. Tell them New Bizon survives. Tell them to come home. Recording ended. Dejan sat in the darkness for a long time. His mind was racing. Earth thought they were dead. All these years, everyone on the colony believed Earth had abandoned them, but it was a lie. Earth did not know they were alive. He had to tell someone, but who could he trust? The Ven watched everything. They had cameras everywhere. Informants too. Some humans sold out their own people for extra food rations. Dejan thought about Hannah. She was the colony administrator, the person who dealt with the Ven overseers. She was smart and careful. She kept people alive. If anyone could figure out what to do, it was her. He gathered the data, chips and the note, sealed everything back in the case and started crawling back through the tunnel. His mind was already making plans. This changed everything. If Earth knew they were alive, Earth would come. His grandfather promised it in the recording. Humans never leave their own behind. When he reached the main colony levels, he went straight to the administration section. Hannah's office was small, barely more than a closet with a desk and 2 chairs. She looked up when he entered. She was 34 years old, but looked older. The stress of keeping 800 people alive under Ven rule had aged her. Dejan, what is wrong? You look like you saw a ghost. He closed the door and locked it. Then he put the case on her desk. I found something from before, from Captain Kaiwoman. Hannah went very still. Kaiwoman, the old defense forces captain. He has been dead for 16 years, I know, but he left us something. Messages, the truth about what happened. Dean opened the case and showed her everything. They spent the next 3 hours watching the recordings and reading the documents. When they finished, Hannah was crying, not loud, just quiet tears running down her face. Earth thinks we are dead, she whispered, all this time. They think we are dead. We have to tell them we are alive. Dean said we have to send a message. How? The Ven control everything, every communication system, every transmitter. They will kill us if we try. Then we need someone who knows communication systems better than the Rendu. Hannah looked at him. Myra was 19 years old and the colony's communication officer. She had grown up here, born just before the Ven came. She had never seen Earth, never breathed air, never felt rain, but she was brilliant with technology. She could make broken systems work with spare parts and hope. They brought my in and showed her everything. The young woman watched the recordings with wide eyes. When Kingman said humanity never leaves its own behind, she started to cry. We can do This, my Ray said, wiping her eyes. The Ven use relay stations to send messages across their empire, if I can. Hack into one for just a few seconds, I can bounce a signal toward Earth. It might work, and if you get caught. Hannah asked. Myra smiled, but it was sad. Then at least I tried, at least I did something instead of just waiting to die on this rock. They made their plan. It would take weeks to prepare. They would need to be careful. One mistake, and the Ven would execute all three of them as examples. But for the first time in 23 years, Daejeon felt something he thought was dead: hope, real hope. Because his grandfather was right. Humans never abandoned their own. They just needed to remember. Sora stared at her screen, convinced she was looking at a mistake. She had been working the night shift at Earth Intelligence Command for 3 years, and most nights were boring. She listened to static, sorted through automated messages, and drank too much coffee. But this message was different. It came through on an old emergency frequency, one that had not been used in decades. The encryption was ancient too, the kind the Earth Defense Forces used 30 years ago. Message was short, only 8 seconds of transmission before it cut off. New Bizon survives. Position KR 7719. Come home. Sora ran the encryption keys through her system 3 times. Each time the result was the same. The codes were real. They matched Earth defense records from 2824. From a colony that was supposed to be destroyed. Her hands were shaking as she reached for her communicator. This is Analyst Sora, Station 12. I need a supervisor immediately. I have a code yellow situation. Within 15 minutes her supervisor arrived, then his supervisor, then the shift commander. They all stood around her desk staring at the message. That should not exist. Run it again, the commander said. Check everything. Encryption keys, signal origin, transmission pattern, everything. So, worked for 2 hours while they watched. Every test came back the same. Message was real. The codes were real. The origin point matched the last known location of New Bizon colony. New Bizon was destroyed 23 years ago, the supervisor said slowly. A Ven Empire. Report said an asteroid hit the colony. Total loss, no survivors. The Ven could have lied, Sora said quietly. Everyone went silent. That changed everything. If the VN lied about New Bizon, what else had they lied about? By morning the message had reached Admiral Taeyong at Seoul Sector Command. He was 45 years old and had been in the Earth Fleet for 27 years. He remembered when New Bizon went silent. He remembered reading the casualty reports. 893 people, all dead. Or so they thought. Kayang stood in his office, looking out at Earth below, the blue planet that humanity had almost destroyed centuries ago before learning to take care of it. The planet that every human colony dreamed of returning to someday. He opened his communicator. Get me the colonial records for New Bizon, everything, and I want the same for every colony. The Vred Empire told us was destroyed, all of them. His staff worked through the day and into the night. What they found made Tiang's blood run cold. 14 colonies had been declared destroyed by the Ven Empire over the past 30 years. 14, and in every case, the VN said it was an accident. Asteroid strikes, equipment failures, reactor explosions, but none of the destruction was ever confirmed by Earth ships. The Van always said it was Too dangerous to investigate, too much debris, too much radiation, and Earth had believed them because Earth and they then had a peace treaty, an alliance even. Now that alliance felt like a lie built on the bodies of colonists. The news leaked to the public within 48 hours. Someone on Tiang's staff told someone else who told a reporter. Soon every news channel was showing the same thing. The 8-second message from New Bizon. "They're alive" became the words on everyone's lips. Wick saw the news while eating breakfast in his small apartment in the Seoul district. He was 52 years old and lived alone. He had not been a happy man for 23 years, not since the day his daughter died, except she had not died when the reporter said the name New Bizon. Wonchik dropped his cup. Coffee spilled everywhere, but he did not notice. He was staring at the screen, at the asteroid designation KR 7719, at the words saying survivors might be alive. His daughter Hana had been on New Bizon. She was 11 years old when he put her on the colony ship. He was supposed to follow on the next ship, but that ship never came. Then came the report that New Bizon was destroyed. His little girl dead at 11 years old, but maybe not dead, maybe alive, maybe waiting for 23 years for someone to come. Wick was not a violent man, but he wanted to hurt someone. He wanted to hurt the Ven who lied. He wanted to hurt the Earth officials who believed the lies. He wanted to hurt himself for giving up hope. Instead he went to Seoul Sector Command and demanded to see Admiral Taeyong. They tried to turn him away. He was nobody, just a sad old man who worked in the factory, but he would not leave. He sat in the lobby and said he would stay there until the Admiral saw him. He would stay forever if he had to. Taeyong heard about the old man in his lobby. He looked at Wick's records and saw the connection to New Bizon. He saw that Wonchik had a daughter named Hannah listed as deceased. Send him up, Tiang said. Wick stood in the Admiral's office trying not to cry. He was done crying years ago, but now the tears came anyway and he could not stop them. My daughter, Wanik said. Hana. She was on New Business. Is she alive? Please tell me the truth. Taeyong wanted to lie. He wanted to tell this broken man that everything would be fine, but he could not. I don't know. We received one message. 8 seconds, that is all. We don't know who is alive or how many, but someone is alive. Yes, someone is alive. Wick sat down hard in a chair. What are you going to do? That was the question. What could Earth do? The Ven Empire controlled 40 star systems. Earth controlled 12. The VN had more ships, more weapons, more resources. Going to war over one colony seemed insane, but Taeyong had spent 3 days reading reports about colonists who believed Earth would come for them. Reports about children born in captivity who had never seen their home world. Reports about people who kept faith for 23 years. I am going to bring them home, Taeyong said. All of them. The Earth Council meeting 3 days later was loud and angry. Representatives from every sector argued about what to do. Some wanted to negotiate with the VN. Some wanted to send a small rescue team. Some wanted to do nothing and avoid war. Tiang stood before them and showed his research. 14 colonies, thousands of people who might still be alive. Thousands of humans working as slaves for the Ven Empire while Earth did nothing. We have a choice, Taeyong said. His voice was calm but hard as steel. We can negotiate. We can be diplomatic. We can try to make a deal, or we can remember who we are. We are humanity. We survived ice ages and plagues and wars that nearly destroyed us. We crawled out of our gravity well and made homes in the dark between stars, and we did it all with one promise: we do not leave our people behind. The Ven have 40 systems. One representative shouted, "We have 12. They will crush us," maybe Tiang said. Or maybe they will learn something that every human already knows: we are not strong because we have big ships or powerful weapons. We are strong because we remember our promises. We remember our people, and we never, ever stopped coming home. The vote was close, but in the end the council approved Operation Remember. Earth would go to war if necessary. They would bring their people home. The news spread across human space like fire, from Earth to Mars to the orbital stations to the colony worlds. People started volunteering. Former soldiers came out of retirement. Civilians signed up for the fleet. Engineers offered to build ships. Everyone wanted to help because it was not just about new business anymore. It was about every human who ever wondered if Earth would come for them. Every colonist who ever felt alone. The dark, every person who needed to know that humanity kept its promises. Tiang stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Indomitable, and looked at his fleet. 200 ships, not enough to fight the Ven head-on, but enough to try. Before they left, Wick came to see him one more time. The old man stood on the dock, looking up at the massive warship. "Bring her home," Wick said. "Simply bring my daughter home." Taeyang looked down at this man who had suffered for 23 years, who had lived with grief and loss because of a lie, and he made a promise. "I will bring your daughter home," Tiang said, "or I will not come back. You have my word." Shik nodded. He believed. After 23 years of darkness, he believed again. The fleet left Earth orbit on a cold morning in November. 200 ships heading toward Ren space, heading toward war, heading toward a small colony on an asteroid where 847 people waited and hoped and prayed that Earth remembered them. Admiral Tiang stood on his bridge and thought about promises, about the words Captain Kaiwu recorded decades ago, about a little girl named Hannah who was 11 years old when her world ended, about Wick standing on the dock with tears in his eyes. Humanity was coming slow but certain as sunrise, and when they arrived, the Ven Empire would learn something important. When humans remember a promise, the universe trembles. 6 months had passed since my sent message, 6 long months of waiting and wondering if anyone heard it, if anyone cared, if Earth even existed anymore, or if it was just a story the old people told. Dejen worked his shifts in the maintenance tunnels, fixing pipes and pretending everything was normal, but nothing was normal. Every day he expected vanguards to come and drag him away. Every night he lay awake wondering if this was the day they would be discovered. Hannah walked through the colony halls with her head high, dealing with the Ven administrators as she always did, but inside her heart was pounding. She kept remembering her father's face the last time she saw him. 23 years ago. She was 11 then, now she was 34. Would he even recognize her? In the communication center, Mai watched her screens with tired eyes. The Ven supervisor Ju walked past her station twice a day. He was not cruel like some of the other Ven. He simply did not care. To him, humans were tools. You did Not hate tools, you just use them until they broke and then got new ones. But lately Jews something odd, the humans were different, they walked differently. They looked at each other with strange expressions. There was something in the air, some feeling he could not name. My Jew said one morning, his voice a low hiss through his transil, have there been any unusual communications lately? Mary's blood went cold, but she kept her face blank. No administrator, all systems normal. Jew stared at her with his flat reptilian eyes. The Empire is concerned about rebel activity. You will report anything unusual immediately. Yes, administrator. When he left, Mary let out a breath she did not know she was holding. They were looking. The Ven were starting to notice something was wrong. She needed to warn Hannah and Dejun. That night they met in the old maintenance tunnel where Dejun found the cache. It was the only place they knew for certain had no cameras. They are getting suspicious, Mary said. Jew asked me about unusual communications. If they check the logs carefully, they will find the transmission gap, 8 seconds where the system was offline. Can you hide it? Hannah asked. I already tried, but if they do a deep analysis, they will find it. We have maybe a week, maybe less. Dejan slammed his fist against the wall. 6 months, it has been 6 months. Where is Earth? Space is big, Hannah said quietly. Even if they hurt us, even if they are coming, it takes time. Time we do not have. My said. In the colony's small medical center, Dr. Hying was treating a worker who fell in the mines. The man's leg was broken in 3 places. She said it as best she could. With the limited supplies they had, the Ven did not waste resources on human medical care. If you could not work, you were not useful. Hygiene was 41 years old and had been the colony doctor for 15 years since the old doctor died. She learned medicine from books and practice, and she got good at it because she had to. People died when she made mistakes. But lately, people were coming to her with strange questions, questions about how long someone could survive without food, how to treat radiation sickness, how to stop bleeding from weapons, wounds. They were preparing for something. Hajan did not know what, but she could feel it. The colony was getting ready for war. Young sat in the education room with the other teenagers. She was 16 years old and had been born on New Bizin 2 years after that. Then came. She never saw Earth, never breathed air that was not recycled, never felt sunshine or rain or wind. Teacher, an old woman named Yunji, was telling them about Earth. She did this every week, trying to keep the memory alive for the children who never saw their home world. Earth has blue skies, Yunji said. Her voice was soft and sad. Real skies, not metal ceilings, and oceans, water so vast you cannot see across them. Is it real? One of the younger children asked. Or just a story? Before Yunji could answer, Yuna stood up. Everyone looked at her. She was shaking, but she spoke anyway. It is real, Yuna said. My mother remembers Earth. She remembers the sky. She remembers the ocean. She told me about them before she died, and I believe her. I believe Earth is real, and I believe they are coming for us. How do you know? Another student asked. Because that is what humans do, Yuna said. We remember. We keep promises. My mother told me that. She said, no matter how long it takes, no matter how far away we are, humans come home always. Yunji was crying, so were several of the students. They wanted to believe so badly. They Needed to believe. That night, Yuna's word spread through the colony. The teenagers started talking to their parents. The parents talked to each other. Soon everyone knew about the girl who believed Earth was coming. It gave people hope, and hope was dangerous, far away, traveling through the dark between stars. Admiral Taeyang stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and looked at his fleet. 6 months of travel, 6 months of drills and training, and preparing for what came next. They were close now, 3 days from the border of RN space, 3 days from the point of no return. His second officer approached. Admiral, we are receiving long-range scans of the border. The VN have fortifications, weapon platforms, patrol ships. If we cross that line, they will know. Good, Tiang said. I want them to know, sir, we are not sneaking in, we are not hiding. We are telling the Ven Empire that humanity has come for its people, and we are giving them a choice. The officer looked nervous. Choice: return our people peacefully, or learn why we are called the most stubborn species in the galaxy. The fleet reached the Ven border exactly on schedule. Tang ordered all ships to stop right at the boundary line. Then he sent a message on every frequency the RN used. This is Admiral Taeyang of the Earth Fleet commanding operation. Remember, we have come for our people. The colonists you told us were dead are alive. We know this. The galaxy knows this. You have 48 hours to return all human colonists in your territory to us. Do this and there will be peace, refuse, and you will learn why humanity survived every disaster our home world threw at us. You have 48 hours. Choose wisely. The message went out across Ven space. Every VN ship heard it, every VN station, every colony world, and every human slave working in those places heard it too. On New Bison, Mai was working her shift when the message came through. She was monitoring Ren military communications as always. When she heard Taeyang's voice, she almost fell out of her chair. She recorded the message and ran to find Hana. They listened to it together 3 times, crying and laughing at the same time. They came. Hana whispered, Earth came for us. We have to tell everyone. Mary said, we have to let the colony know. No, Hana said, thinking fast. Not yet. The Ven are going to panic. They will lock down everything. We need to be ready first. She called an emergency meeting with the colony leaders. 20 people crammed into a storage room speaking in whispers. Hana played the message for them. Earth is here, she said. They are at the border. They gave the Ven 48 hours. When those hours are up, there will be fighting. We need to be ready to help ourselves. Help. How? Someone asked. We have no weapons. The Ven have everything. We have supplies, Dejun said, and we know this colony better than they do. Every tunnel, every system, every weak point. Dr. Hyen spoke up. The medical center is the strongest building in the colony. Reinforced walls because of the radiation equipment. If we need a safe place we can hold there. The spaceport, said Yemen, an old man who used to be a soldier before the Ven came. If we control the spaceport, we control the landing pads. When Earth ships arrive, they will need a place to dock. They planned through the night. Every person had a job. Every group had a target. When the fighting started, the humans of New Bison would not just wait to be rescued. They would fight for their freedom. Though in the Ven capital, the Empire's leaders were meeting. They were not worried. Humans controlled 12 Systems, the Ven controlled 40. The mathematics was clear. Let them come, said Commander Velro, the military leader. We will destroy their fleet and teach them the price of defiance. What about the human workers? Someone asked. What if they rebel? Velro laughed, a horrible sound like metal scraping. They are livestock. They will do as they are told or die. It is simple, but it was not simple. Across 14 Ven-rolled worlds, where human colonies existed, people were preparing. They heard Tiang's message. They knew Earth had not forgotten them. The Ven thought humans were weak. They fought. Humans were livestock, barely smart enough to follow orders. They were about to learn how wrong they were. On the indomitable Tiang watched the clock countdown. 48 hours, 47, 46. The Ven had not responded to his message. They would not. He knew that. Already, this was going to be war. He thought about Wanik waiting on Earth. He thought about Hannah somewhere on that colony, hoping her father still remembered her. He thought about all the colonists who kept faith for decades. All ships, he said, into the fleet, come. In 48 hours, we are going in. One way or another, we are bringing our people home. The 48 hours ended at exactly 80 Earth Standard Time. The Ven had sent no response, no offer to negotiate, no acknowledgement that anything was wrong. Commander Velro stood on his command ship and watched the human fleet on his screens. 200 ships. He had 400 in this sector alone. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and apparently stupid. Show them what happens when livestock rebels ordered. The Ven fleet fired first, but they did not fire at the military ships. They fired at a civilian human transport that was traveling through neutral space, carrying supplies from one human colony to another. 347 people aboard. Transport exploded. No warning, no chance to surrender, just fire and death. And silence. The VN broadcast the destruction across every channel. It was meant to be a message, meant to show human weakness, meant to make Earth back down. Instead, it lit a fire on Earth. People watched the broadcast in horror, then horror turned to rage. Politicians who argued against the war suddenly went silent. Civilians who protested military action changed their minds. The VN had just made a terrible mistake. They had reminded humanity why they survived. Admiral Taeyang watched the same broadcast on his bridge. He saw the transport explode. He saw 347 lives ended in an instant. His hands tightened on the armrest of his command chair until his knuckles went white. All ships, he said, into the fleet, come. His voice was quiet, cold. Operation Remember is now active. Launch all assault groups. Targets are the 14 systems with confirmed human colonies. Rules of engagement: protect civilians first, disable Ren military second, destroy only if necessary. We are not here to conquer, we are here to bring our people home. The fleet split into 14 groups, each heading to a different system, each with the same mission: reach the colony, extract the humans, and get out. Simple, except nothing in war is ever simple. On New Bizon, the humans saw the transport explode on the screens. Ju, the Ven administrator, made sure they saw it. He wanted them to know what happened to rebels, but when he looked at the human faces, he did not see fear. He saw something else, something that made his scales prickle with unease. Get everyone to works, Ju ordered the guards. Double shifts. Anyone who refuses will be punished. The guards moved through the colony, herding humans toward their jobs, but something was wrong. The humans moved slowly. They looked at each other with strained expressions, and when the guards' backs were turned, they passed things to each other, tools, pieces of metal, things that could be weapons if you were desperate enough. In the maintenance tunnels, Dejan was preparing. He had a wrench and a piece of pipe, not much, but it was all he had. Around him, 20 other workers were gathering. All of them had similar makeshift weapons. All of them had the same hard look in their eyes. Remember the plan, Dejan said quietly. When the Earth ships arrive, we take the spaceport control room. We hold it until help gets here. No heroes stay together, stay alive. What if Earth does not make it? Someone asked. They will make it, Dejan said, because they promised. At the medical center, Dr. Hyen was moving all her supplies into the main treatment room. She had bandages, pain medication, surgical tools, not enough for a battle, but she would make it enough. She had to. Young nurses helped her, including Yuna. The 16-year-old girl worked without speaking, her face serious and focused. She looked older than her years. You should stay hidden when the fighting starts, Hyjin told her. No, Yuna said. I can help, I can carry supplies, I can hold pressure on wounds. I am not hiding while people die. Hyjin wanted to argue, but looking at Yuna's face, she knew it would not work. This girl had never seen Earth, but she had the same stubborn human spirit as everyone else. In orbit above New Biz, the first Earth ships appeared, not the whole fleet, just a strike group, 12 ships led by a fast attack cruiser. They came in hard and fast, weapons ready. The defense platforms opened fire. Immediately, the space around New Bizon lit up with weapons fire and explosions. The battle had begun, but the Earth ships were not alone. While the main force fought, the defense platforms, small assault shuttles launched from the cruisers. Inside these shuttles were special forces soldiers, 40 of them led by a man named Minyu. Minyu was 32 years old and had been in special forces for 10 years. He had done hundreds of missions, but this one was different. This one mattered. 5 minutes to landing, the pilot said. The colony spaceport is hot. Venuards everywhere. Then we go through them, Minyu said. He checked his weapon and looked at his team. Our job is to secure that port so the evacuation ships can land. The colonists are counting on us. Earth is counting on us. We do not fail. Understood? Yes, sir, the team responded. The shuttle hit atmosphere hard, shaking and burning as it descended. Ground fire from the colony defenses hit the shuttle side. An alarm started blaring. We are hit, the pilot shouted. Losing power. Can you get us to the port? Minyu asked. Maybe, then do it. The shuttle came down hard, skidding across the landing pad in a shower of sparks. The side door blew open and Minyu's team poured out into a firefight. Venuards were everywhere, firing with their energy weapons. The Special Forces team took cover behind cargo containers and returned fire. The sound was deafening. Inside the colony, the humans heard the explosions and weapons fire. They looked at each other. This was it. This was the moment. Dejan's group burst from the maintenance tunnels into the spaceport control room. 4 vanguards were inside. The fight was brutal and fast. Wrenches and pipes against energy weapons. 2 humans died. But when it was over, all 4 Ren were down and Dejan had control of the spaceport systems. Lock all the door, except landing pad 3, he shouted to the others. That is where our people need to land. Outside, Minu's team was pushing forward step by bloody step. They lost 3 soldiers in the first 2 minutes, but they kept advancing, kept fighting, kept pushing toward the control room. Then something happened that the V did not expect. Colonists attacked. Jae-min, the old soldier, led a group of 50 workers armed with tools and makeshift weapons. They came from behind, hitting the vanguards, who were focused on Minu's team. It was chaos. Humans should have been hiding. They should have been cowering in fear. Instead, they were fighting. A vanguard turned his weapon on Human. The old man did not stop. He swung his heavy wrench with all his strength, and the guard went down. Then Yemen picked up the guard's weapon and kept fighting. For New Bin, someone screamed, for Earth. Another voice answered. The cry spread. Suddenly, humans were pouring out of everywhere, from the mines, from the processing plants, from the living quarters. 847 people who had been slaves for 23 years were done being slaves. Hannah stood in the colony's main corridor and watched her people fight. She was crying, but she was smiling too. They were doing it. They were actually doing it. Then she saw Minu and his team breaking through. Earth soldiers, real Earth soldiers. Minu saw her too. He ran to her position. Are you Hana Wick's daughter? She could barely breathe. My father, he is alive, and waiting for you. Admiral Taeyong promised him. Now we need to get everyone to the spaceport. Can you help? Yes. Hyla turned and started shouting orders. She knew every person in this colony. She knew who was where, and she organized them like she had organized everything else for 23 years. At the medical center, the wounded started arriving. Hygiene worked with steady hand, treating injuries as fast as she could. Yuna was everywhere, running supplies, helping hold patients down during painful procedures, never stopping. We are winning, someone gasped between screams of pain. We are actually winning, but winning was not free. 14 humans were dead, 23 more were badly wounded, and the Ven were bringing reinforcements from their other colonies. On his command ship above, Velro watched in disbelief. The humans were fighting. The livestock was fighting. This was impossible. They had no weapons, no training. They were supposed to be weak. Bring in the heavy assault units, Velro ordered. Kill them all. Every human on that colony. If we cannot control them, we will make an example of them. But Velro had not counted on one thing. Human fleet was not just attacking New Bizin, they were attacking all 14 colonies at the same time. The Ven forces were spread thin, trying to respond to 14 emergencies at once, and while the military fought in space, the colonists fought on the ground. On every world, humans who had been slaves for years suddenly remembered they were human. They remembered Earth. They remembered freedom. They fought with anything they could find. They sabotaged equipment. They seized control of spaceports and communication centers. They made the Ven Empire's biggest mistake come to life. They had underestimated humanity on New Bizin. The evacuation ships finally landed. Huge transport vessels that could carry hundreds of people. Hannah helped organize the loading, children first, then wounded, then everyone else. Minu's team held the perimeter as people ran to the ships. More Earth Soldiers had landed now, reinforcing their position, but the VN was still coming, still fighting, still trying to stop the evacuation. Dejan stood in the control room. The transport carrying the new Bizon colonists docked with the indomitable 3 hours after leaving the colony. The airlock opened and Admiral Taeyang stood there waiting. Behind him, medical teams were ready, food, water, blankets, everything the colonists might need. But the first person off the transport was not looking for medical care. Hannah pushed through the crowd, her eyes searching. When she saw the Earth Defense Forces uniform on Taeyang, she ran to him. Admiral Taeyang, she gasped. My father Wanik, is he alive? Taeyang smiled. It was the first time he smiled in weeks. Alive and waiting for you. He is on Earth. I promised him I would bring you home. Hannah collapsed, just fell to her knees, crying so hard she could not breathe. Tang knelt beside her and put a hand on her shoulder. He said nothing. Sometimes there were no words. Around them, 828 people poured onto the ship. Some were crying, some were laughing, some just stood silent, unable to believe it was real. They were free. After 23 years, they were finally free. Dejan walked off the transport and looked around at the Earthship. Everything was clean and bright and new. So different from the colony where everything was old and broken. He saw young Earth soldier, maybe 19 years old. The same age Dejan was when he sent the message. Thank you, Dejan said quietly. Thank you for coming. The soldier looked confused. Why are you thanking me? We are just doing what humans do. We come for our own always. Over the next 6 days, transports from all 14 colonies arrived at the fleet. Not everyone made it. Some colonies fought harder than others. Some lost more people, but by the end, 47,193 humans had been recovered. 47,000 people who were supposed to be dead. The Ven Empire was in chaos. They had lost 14 colonies. Their military forces were scattered and their reputation was destroyed. The galaxy watched as the livestock species humiliated one of the most powerful empires in space. Empress Chevra, ruler of the Ven, called for an emergency meeting. Her advisors argued about what to do. Some wanted total war. Some wanted to negotiate. All of them were confused about what happened. How? Chevra kept asking, how did the humans do this? They are weak. Everyone knows they are weak. Her intelligence officer, a young friend named Bowman, spoke carefully. Empress, perhaps we were wrong about humans. Perhaps we never understood them, explained. Bowman pulled up data on a screen. Humans did not win with superior technology. They did not win with bigger weapons. They won because every single one of them fought together. The colonists, the soldiers, the civilians. Back on Earth, they all worked toward the same goal, and they did not stop. Not when we destroyed their transport. Not when we killed their soldiers. They just kept coming. They are stubborn. Another advisor said dismissively. No, Bowman said they are united. That is different. We rule our empire through fear and control. The humans rule through something else, through promises, through loyalty, through this idea that no one gets left behind. Chevra was silent for a long time. Finally she spoke. Contact Admiral Taeyang. Tell him I wish to negotiate. The meeting happened in neutral space. Just 2 ships, the Indomitable and the Ven flagship. Tiang went aboard the Ren ship with a small security team. Empress Chevra was tall, nearly 8 feet, with golden scales that shimmered in the light. She looked at Taeyang with her cold reptilian eyes, trying to understand this small human who had done the impossible. You won, she said. Simply, what do you want? I want what I said from the beginning, Tiang replied. All human colonies in your territory. Return to us, all human slaves freed. Compensation for the families of those who died, and a promise that this never happens again. That is a lot to ask from an empire that still controls 40 systems. Then ask yourself this, Tiang said, leaning forward. Do you really want to find out what else we can do? You thought we were weak. You thought we were livestock. You were wrong, dead wrong. And if you force us to come back next time, we will not be rescuing colonists. Next time we will be at war. And you saw what we did for 47,000 people. Imagine what we will do for our entire species. Chevra stared at him. She saw no fear in his eyes, no doubt. Just absolute certainty. This human would fight until his last breath, and every other human would do the same. I will agree to your terms, she said, on one condition. I need to understand why. Why risk so much for so few? Your species is spread across dozens of worlds. 47,000 people is nothing. Rounding error. Why would you start a war over them? Tiang smiled. It was not a friendly smile, because a promise made to one human is a promise made to all of us. We remember. We always remember. And that memory makes us stronger than any weapon. You wanted to know why humans survived every disaster our home world threw at us. This is why we do not leave each other behind ever. The Treaty of Remembrance was signed 3 days later. All human colonies returned, Har systems transferred to human control as compensation. 5 billion credits in reparations. And most importantly, a clause stating that any human in Ren space could request transport to human territory at any time. The Ven Empire lost face. Across the galaxy, other species started looking at their own agreements with the Ven differently. Some colonies requested independence, some made new deals. The balance of power shifted, but Earth did not care about galactic politics. Earth cared about 47,000 people coming home. The first transport to reach Earth carried the new Bissell colonists. They came down at Seoul Spaceport on a clear morning in May. Thousands of people waited at the port, families who had not seen their loved ones in decades, friends who thought their friends were dead, children who had never met their grandparents. Wick stood at the front of the crowd. He was shaking so hard he could barely stand. It had been 23 years. His daughter was 11 years old when he last saw her. Now she was 34. Would he even recognize her? The transport door opened. People started coming out slowly at first, blinking in real sunlight for the first time in years, then faster, running down the ramp toward waiting family's daughter. Hana came out near the middle of the group. She stopped at the top of the ramp and looked up at the sky, real sky, blue and endless and beautiful. She started crying. Then she looked out at the crowd and saw an old man pushing forward, gray hair-lined face, but the same eyes, the same face she remembered from when she was 11. Dad, she whispered. Wick heard her somehow, over all the noise, over all the crying and shouting. He heard his daughter's voice. He ran toward the ramp. She ran down. They met in the middle and held each other, both crying too hard to speak. Around them, hundreds of similar reunions were happening, but for this moment they were alone in their own world of remembered love and kept promises. Admiral Taeyang watched from the observation deck. He was exhausted. The past 2 months had aged him years. But watching those reunions, he felt something close to peace. Sir, his aide said, we are receiving another transmission from the edge of Ren space. Taeyang turned. Another message. Yes, sir, same encryption, same format from a colony called Haven Ridge. They say they are alive. They are asking if Earth still comes for its people. Tian closed his eyes for a moment. Another colony. Another group of people who had been waiting and hoping. Another promise to keep. How many colonies did the Vin tell us were destroyed? He asked. 47, sir. Over the past 50 years, 47 colonies. 47 groups of people waiting for rescue. 47 promises to keep. Plot a course for Haven Ridge, Taeyang said, and send a message back. Tell them yes, Earth still comes for its people. Earth always comes for its people. In the Hall of Heroes on Earth, they created a new memorial, the Hall of Promises. At the center was Captain Kemen's recording playing on repeat for anyone who wanted to hear it. They will come, his voice said. Humans always come home. Beside the recording, they mounted the original data chip that Dejan found in the maintenance tunnel, and below that a plaque with simple words, they came because humanity remembers. Dejan stood in the hall on a sunny afternoon, 2 months after returning to Earth. Beside him was Myra, who had become famous as the communications officer who sent the first message. Behind them was Hannah, and holding hands like she was 11 years old again. Your grandfather was right, Mary said quietly. They came for us, he knew. Dejan said somehow he knew that humans do not break their promises no matter how long it takes. Young walked up looking at the memorial with wide eyes. This was her first time visiting. She was living with a foster family now, learning about Earth, trying to understand a world she had only heard about in stories. Is it true, she asked, that humans never abandon their own? Dejan looked at her and smiled. Yes, it is true, no matter where you are, no matter how far, no matter how long, humans remember their promises. And when we remember, the universe trembles across the galaxy. The message spread to human colonies on the frontier, to traders in distant systems, to anyone who needed to know. Earth had come for 47,000 people. Earth would come for anyone, and the Ven Empire, watching from their capital world, understood something important.